Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Greetings and salutations. You are tuning in to the Disgruntled Millennial portion of the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. My name is Brett Segal, the Disgruntled Millennial, broadcasting to you live from my safe space down here in northern Florida, where I'm always free from your bigotry, racism, hatred, microaggressions, and patriarchy. It is a gorgeous Friday afternoon, and the weather is starting to change. It's actually getting really, really beautiful out here in northern Florida. I'm not going to tell you exactly where I live because I live in a bunker. It's a bunker in North Florida where I am absolutely free from all your bigotry, racism, hatred, microaggressions, and patriarchy. I want to talk a little bit today about the language that we use. How comfortable, how cozy we've gotten with the language of the left. Don't you notice how cavalier, how blasé they are, leftists are, about their hatred for white people? And if they're white, of course, they have white guilt. You have these white guys going, we have to stand up against the patriarchy. And like, you're a white man. What are you talking about? Like, were you saying you should just kill yourself? The language of the left is so racist that to even suggest that someone could be racist against a white person, they don't even call that racism. They call that reverse racism. When you use the language of the left, when you start saying reverse racism, you're basically acknowledging that white people are the only racist people, that somehow to be racist against white people is to reverse racism. How is that reverse racism? Technically, reverse racism would be not racist at all. Or it would be like, instead of hating someone for the color of their skin, it would be liking someone for the color of their skin, right? Isn't that what reverse racism would be? But leave it to the left to screw with your language and thereby screwing with your thoughts. Reverse racism. Think about that for a minute. How is it racist to call someone an N-word, but when someone calls you a honky or discriminates you against you because you're white, that's reverse racism? I thought it was just racism. And that's exactly the kind of language that divides people up into identity groups. When you buy into the language of using reverse racism versus racism, you are basically buying into the fundamental premise that white people are exempt from certain considerations. For example, crime perpetrated on white people because they are white. Racially charged crimes against white people. Somehow that's reverse racism. Now, I hear a lot about the Richard Spencer and about the alt-right and the alt this and that. Richard Spencer, he's a neo-Nazi. He's a white supremacist. Why don't we hear about black supremacists? Like Black Lives Matter, they are black supremacists. I went to a Donald Trump rally before he got elected, and this was actually one of the reasons why I moved to North Florida, because I went to this Trump rally and everything was just, there was so much diversity. This was in northern Florida, the reddest part of Florida. And it was just the most amazing kind of culture shock, because I've grown up in this politically correct South Florida, and then I come to North Florida, and it's actually way more multicultural and way more diverse, and people are way more accepting up here than they are in South Florida. South Florida, the place that, the bastion of liberalism, where everyone talks about tolerance and acceptance. And anytime I would suggest maybe moving a little bit farther north, I hear things like, oh, you just want to fly over that area. It's a bunch of rednecks and a bunch of racists and a bunch of Confederate flag waving Nazis. It's really not. It's not at all. In fact, the only racism that I have experienced up here is racism versus white people. You would call it reverse racism. I call it racism. When I got to this Trump rally, the first thing I saw was a Black Lives Matter protester calling for segregation. He wanted separate states. He said, we want 5 states. We need 5 states where we can be separate. The white man and the black man can't get along. Now imagine any white person going around saying that. Imagine a white person showing up to a rally and saying, we want to bring back segregation. I mean, it just sounds so gross and so nasty. I just don't know how, when it is on the other side, when the shoe is on the other foot, that people don't think the same exact way. I was raised by a black woman. I bet y'all didn't know that. My mom, after my father died from hemophilia-related AIDS in 1988, my mom enlisted the help of the most beautiful, amazing, big, beautiful black woman, and that's who I was raised by. She was like my dad. She is the one who taught me about the N-word. Because I didn't even know what the N-word was when I was a kid. Of course, nobody knows what that word is when you're a kid. And there was some kid that was in school, and he was singing Jingle Bells, Batman Smells, Robin laid an egg, pulled the trigger and shot up, something like that. And I sang it in the car, having no idea what the word even meant. It's just something I heard. She stops the car, she pulls over, and she basically gives me the rundown. And then I understood why it was a bad word. I understood why it was so offensive. And she didn't hate me for it. She wasn't like, you little white boy. She did not chastise me. She was teaching me a lesson because she understood exactly what was happening there. She understood that I was just a kid and that I needed a little bit of schooling, and that's what she was there for. But you live a little bit, and then you grow up a little bit, and then you come to realize, wait a minute, there is no equivalent word for white people. There is no word. Of all the words, whipcracker, honky, with all the words that there are used to describe white people, nowadays they got words like cockazoid, cockadevil, white devil. There is no one word, no one phrase used to describe white people that is universally condemned like the N-word. And that is institutional racism, right? The universal acceptance of racism? Not reverse racism, racism. It is universally accepted to be racist towards white people. It is universally accepted for white people to acknowledge their guilt. The guilt of having been born in white skin. And they like to say all this, driving while black. Oh, I was driving while black. That is such horse pucky. That is such horse manure. Driving while white. Driving while black. Driving while Hispanic. It all sounds like racism to me. The first part about defeating the left is not playing their damn games anymore. Their damn language games. Tweet me at Shaq General. We'll be right back.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177, or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful four-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.